Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This will be my full Game of Thrones Night of the Seven Kingdoms Episode 2 video. There were a whole bunch of Easter eggs, references to the books, so we'll break it all down. Everybody grab all your tournament gear, the Targaryens have shown up. It's not a party until the Targaryens are here. The title of the episode is Hard Salt Beef, which is a reference to a line from the book, The Hedge Knight, that this is all based on. During the actual episode, a couple times you see Dunk eating hard salt beef, first in the flashbacks with Sir Arlen getting ready to sleep under the tree in the rain, and then at the end of the episode at their campsite when he's wondering if the life of a hedge knight is a good life, sleeping beside the side of the road as he then literally eats a piece of hard salt beef. The line hard salt beef is spoken by Prince Maekar, who we see arrive at the tournament along with the procession of the Targaryen family. We'll talk about them in a second. Maekar is having a conversation with Dunk after the Trial of Seven, so like after the big WTF event has gone down. He says to Dunk, "Did the trial addle your wits, man? Aegon is a prince of the realm, the blood of the dragon. Princes are not made for sleeping in ditches and eating hard salt beef." He saw Dunk hesitate. "What is it you're afraid to tell me? Say what you will, sir." Dunk then replies to him, "Daeron never slept in a ditch, I'll wager." Daeron the Drunken, who we saw in episode 1 with the dragon dream. "In all the beef that Aerion ever ate was thick and rare and bloody, like is not." Aerion being one of Maekar's other children. The whole idea of the hard salt beef life, the concept that Dunk is trying to explain, is that his way of life is just going to be better for trying to teach Egg how to become a good person, whereas the other royal princes that were raised like traditional Targaryens inside the royal family did not turn out so great. One of the biggest things that's happening during the series, just in general, is Dunk basically making the Targaryens check their privilege, so to speak, the other lords of the realm, and that's why they're showing you so many terrible lords compared to some of the good ones that we'll also meet through the series, because not everybody is terrible on the show. Probably the best example of that so far has been Lionel Baratheon. He's one of the most powerful lords in the realm next to the Targaryens, and he's actually been a pretty good person so far. Speaking of which, even more powerful, Baelor Targaryen, because he is inside the royal family, he's the heir presumptive, and he is the hand of the king, about as powerful as you can get in Westeros without actually sitting on the Iron Throne and being king. And winds up giving Dunk the thing that he finally needs, vouching for him, doing something nice, being a good person, showing Dunk that all lords don't have to be rotten. But the whole reason why there's so many members of the Targaryen family showing up at this backwater tournament in Ashford, whereas normally, like during the time of Daemon, during House of the Dragons, the Dance of the Dragons, wouldn't even care about showing up, like most of the Targaryens wouldn't even think twice about coming here. All goes back to the way that the Targaryen family now, in the era after dragons, there are no more dragons in the realm, they don't have dragons to hold over other people to cow them into order, basically have to spend their entire time doing PR work around the different realms and make way more political marriages, as is evidenced in some of the brown and black-haired Targaryens here. Just a little while ago during House of the Dragon, that was used as a grave insult because of Rhaenyra's strong boys. That was a really huge deal for a couple reasons, also because they were viewed as illegitimate. These brown and black-haired Targaryens that you see are all a result of Dorne coming into the Seven Kingdoms via a marriage through Daeron II. Daeron II, the current reigning king sitting on the Iron Throne right now during the series, is the actual Targaryen who brought Dorne into the fold. Technically conquered, but it wasn't really conquering because it was an arrangement sealed with a marriage pact, and he married a Dornish wife. So the most important Targaryen that's here at the tournament, Baelor Breakspear here, who we meet during the episode, is the heir presumptive. He's his oldest son. And the reason why he has brown hair is because his mother is Dornish, and the seed is strong, as they said during the original Game of Thrones series. He has a son named Valarr, who's also at the tournament here, who also has black hair with a streak of white, so there's like a little bit of Targaryen hair, silver hair peeking through. Then there's Baelor's younger brother, Prince Maekar, who does have the traditional silver Targaryen hair, which makes him look quite a bit older, also the fact that he's so grumpy during the episode. He's got 4 sons, but not all of the sons are here, and some of the sons who are already married have some of their wives here at the tournament as well too, so it is a big contingent from the Targaryen family in general. Maekar's sons are Daeron the Drunken, who we did see in episode 1 at the end, the one that has dragon dreams and told Dunk about his future without Dunk really realizing it. Aerion Targaryen, who Dunk also runs afoul of. His next son is a big Easter egg because it's Maester Aemond from the original Game of Thrones show. That's right, that's how old Maester Aemond is during that Game of Thrones show. He just continues living up at the wall.
My father was Maekar. My brother Aegon reigned after him.
The reason why Aemond isn't here at the tournament is because he's off studying to be a maester at the Citadel. Maybe we'll see him in a future season eventually. There was a really big Easter egg for Night of the Seven Kingdoms during the original show too, because not only does he talk about his family, he also talks about his younger brother Egg on his deathbed. The egg that he spoke of is the egg that we see during this series, who is squired to Dunk. Baelor is called Baelor Breakspear because he defeated Daemon Blackfyre I from the Blackfyre Rebellion. He started the Blackfyre Rebellion back when Baelor was 17 years old, breaking his lance during a jousting match at his aunt Daenerys Targaryen's wedding. Obviously, it sounds familiar because Daenerys Targaryen from the original series. Many people in the Targaryen family reused names of all the more famous Targaryens, so it's just like naming someone after the most popular people in your family. This is also why there are so many Aegons that pop up over the timeline. The actual episode starts with another not safe for work scene on brand for the Dumper at the beginning of episode 1, where you get the full Monty of Sir Arlen, and it's another flashback that they use for comedy, ironically with Dunk talking him up in present day to all the different lords of the great houses, trying to get them to vouch for him and remember Sir Arlen, while he's basically hyping him up to these crazy standards, which they reveal the truth of in the flashbacks, that Sir Arlen was just as fallible as any other regular knight, which Dunk then admits to Egg at the end of the episode. Like, he wasn't this great knight like I've been talking about to all these other lords. He was just another guy, and he wasn't always that nice, but he did raise me to be a good person, an honorable person, and he treated me like family. When he looks at the different bands around his wound, they're both practical to help actually close the wound because he wants the wound to heal, but also the strands are reminders of his previous battles in fights because he was in a ton of battles across his lifetime and he was wounded often during tournaments. We get another simplified title this time like we did in episode 1, no special intro like House of the Dragon or the original Game of Thrones series, and this is meant to be somewhere in the Reach as they're departing down the road, heading to what seems like Ashford, the tourney at Ashford, and this is meant to be just before his actual death. Throughout the flashbacks too, you also see him slowly losing steam, like you can actually see his body begin to give up. And he's singing the same song throughout all the different flashbacks through different parts of their journey. It's just a song about being horny. Tries to get Dunk to sing with him, then you see them sleeping beside the road under the tree in the cold rain as they eat the hard salt beef, playing into the whole theme of the episode, the title of the episode. They get some training, notice that Dunk is using the Warhammer, which feels like a Robert Baratheon Warhammer comp. Robert used a Warhammer, and this episode has a lot of those House Baratheon rebellion references, especially with Lionel Baratheon. Much later in the timeline, like long after the events of the actual series, he has his own minor rebellion with the crown over a broken engagement that was Jenny of Oldstones, the famous Jenny of Oldstones that's referenced during the original Game of Thrones series. It turns into this big play and a big song that people sing later, but originally is that a Targaryen prince that was engaged to Lionel Baratheon's daughter broke the engagement because he was in love with Jenny of Oldstones, and that led to Lionel Baratheon getting really pissed off, but it didn't turn into like a big full-scale war like Robert's rebellion did later in the timeline.
Will you heed my call to war?
But there are a couple Robert's rebellion comps later in the episode with the whole rope pull, like will you join my war, Hedge Knight, is basically leaning to that. Lionel Baratheon also has a lot of fun in this episode. He and Dunk also become very good friends eventually. As they continue through the flashbacks, you see Sir Arlen singing and having to stop like he's having trouble singing because his body is literally like he's slumping over, like he is literally about to die. We go back to the tournament and learn about some of the houses that Dunk is going to try and get to vouch for him and remember Sir Arlen. First it's House Florent, then House Hayford. When he says Sir Arlen fought side by side with their brothers at Redgrass, that's a big Blackfyre Rebellion Easter egg. We get a couple of them in this episode, but this one is for the Battle of Redgrass Field. And his squire at the time was his nephew, Sir Arlen's squire, who died at that battle, because a lot of people died at that battle. Then he speaks with Longhorn Tyrell, who's one of the most powerful lords here at the tournament next to Lionel Baratheon, because we are in the Reach. Ashford is in the Reach. And all them turn him away. Egg calling Sir Arlen a shit knight also feels like a callback to Dunk taking a dump at the beginning of episode 1 under the tree, too. Then notice as the Targaryens ride in and they start heralding them, Egg bails immediately, like, you know what, maybe I should take off right now, just in case anybody recognizes me. When Dunk threatens him not to rob him, that's also a line from the book. There are many lines that are taken directly from the book in this episode, as there were in episode 1. It'll probably be like that for the entire series, too. It's the most book-accurate series that they've done so far, even more book-accurate than the original early seasons of Game of Thrones. HBO even released a promo where they did this comp of putting the scene of them speaking the dialogue directly from the book with pages from the book. I don't think they've ever actually released a promo like this before because they've never been quite this book accurate before. It kind of feels like they treat their arrival here the same way the announcer treated Robert Baratheon in his royal procession arriving at Winterfell during Game of Thrones Season 1, Episode 1. Calling out all of their very formal titles took a long time to actually read them all off. Notice that the announcer also had to remind himself to announce Maekar too, like he almost forgot about him, like, oh yeah, you too, you're a prince. Okay, we'll name you too. The reason for this is currently the realm doesn't think that much of Maekar because he's so far down in the line of succession. Their eyes are mostly on Baelor, who everybody thinks will be a great king. Like, not everybody loves him, but most of the realm thinks that he's great, and he seems level-headed, which is rare for Targaryens. So basically, he's like the most important person in the realm next to the actual king. That's why everybody's so focused on him. They're not really paying too much attention to the other members of the royal family that much. Lord Ashford introduces her daughter Gwyn to him. I believe the reason for the tournament itself, the tourney at Ashford, is her name day, just in celebration of that. In the books, this is actually funny, George R. R. Martin never gave her a name, his daughter, so I wouldn't be surprised if he helped them name her for the show. Like, George will help them with extra little bits of material when they need little bits of lore to add in. That's kind of a long-running joke in A Song of Ice and Fire and all the other spin-off novels they've done like Fire and Blood, as well as the Tales of Duncan Egg, is that George R. R. Martin oftentimes won't always name all the lesser female characters. He'll just say girl or woman. Then because most of the Targaryens have arrived, Dunk runs afoul of Aerion Targaryen at the stables. He's basically the antagonist for Season 1. He's only a casual dick to him, like he's not that bad, but notice that Dunk does ultimately help with his horse after he kicks the actual stable boy. They use this as an opportunity for him to meet the Kingsguard too. Roland Craighall and Donald Duskendale. They're not the only members of the Kingsguard, but they're just two of the Kingsguard here. You also notice that they're wearing their traditional white armor from the books. In the books, Kingsguard usually wear white, but for some reason on the original Game of Thrones show, they made it gold, maybe because they felt like they couldn't pull the white off for some reason on a practical level. So it is really, really cool to see them finally do the actual white armor.
It's not often he must look up to cast his eyes down.
They make a joke about his height, and then he bonds with Donald over being a low-born person who was able to join the Kingsguard, but they then later also use this for another joke at Dunk's expense at the end of the episode, because Dunk here thinks that Donald was a low-born person who was able to eventually join the Kingsguard, and when he tells him the way he did it was the same way that his family became crabbers, Dunk thinks that that means, oh, you were just able to do it with hard work, meaning that anybody could become a member of the Kingsguard if they work hard enough. But later in the episode, they use it as a joke at his expense when Egg tells him, no, the reason why he's on the Kingsguard is because his family owns half the crabbing fleet in Westeros. He's a rich boy. He basically earned his way through money. Dunk then tries to sneak into Lord Ashford's hall. Notice how he has to stoop over because he's so tall and the hallways are so small. They make a couple jokes about his height in the episode too. He hears Maekar and Baelor complaining about Maekar's missing sons. When he says they may have been delayed, he's talking about Daeron the Drunken, his oldest, who we saw at the inn previously during episode 1, and Aegon, his youngest son. And even though we did see Daeron alive, the reason why he's not here yet is because Daeron woke up from being drunk and then went looking for Aegon. So the two of them are still missing off in the wind, as far as we know. Don't want to talk too much about that because there'll be a couple big reveals in next week's episode probably. But the whole idea here is that Maekar is just pissed off because they can't find them. They both reference that their father, Daeron II, made them all come to the tournament. Baelor says that Daeron has done this before, Daeron the Drunken, Maekar's son, and Maekar should not have made him enter the tournament, which is the whole reason why Daeron and Aegon were here. Aegon was supposed to serve as Daeron's squire, and Daeron didn't really want to actually fight in the tournament. Baelor also says that Daeron has done this before a couple times. The reason why Daeron is probably so drunken all the time, why he's earned that name dubiously, is probably because he's trying to dull the dragon dreams. You can't turn off dragon dreams. Like, he has the same dragon dreams that Helaena has, so he's just like Helaena, basically. He probably views them as nightmares, so they're probably slowly driving him crazy, which would explain why he tries to spend all of his time being drunk, so that it just dulls the pain. Dunk then speaks with Lord Ashford's daughter Gwyn, who references wars, princes being dead, like maybe the princes are missing because they're dead, but that's all misdirection. But then there's this weird vibe between them where it seems like she was coming on to him a little, but then gets mad at him when he doesn't seem into her and she runs off making fun of him. Like she did that because she was into him, but sensed that he was not into her. Baelor mentions Aerys and Rhaegal, who are their other brothers, Daeron's other sons, who are both described in the books as being very meek compared to Baelor and Maekar. The two of them fought valiantly in the Blackfyre Rebellion, Baelor and Maekar, so they're viewed more as warriors by comparison. Maekar catches Dunk, who pleads his case that no one remembers Sir Arlen, but Baelor does because he remembers everybody that he faced in tournaments, as well as his enemies too. Sir Arlen wasn't an enemy, but he did fight him in a tournament, and mentions facing him at Storm's End. The tournament was to celebrate the birth of Lord Baratheon's grandson. That would have been Lionel Baratheon. Dunk also quotes another joke about him from the books, as thick as a castle wall. Dunk the Lunk, thick as a castle wall. They also use Baelor's example from his match with Sir Arlen that he didn't ransom back his horse and armor to him, because that's a big thing in Westeros. If you beat someone in a tournament, you can ransom back their armor and earn a bunch of money from them, and if they can't pay for it, you just get to keep it. So it makes losing at tournaments very expensive and winning actually very lucrative. But they use this as an example to show how Baelor was a good person, is a good person, also because he remembers Sir Arlen unlike all the other lords. Basically the idea that there is a good Targaryen out there, and he just happens to be the most powerful person in the realm next to the actual king. Love that right after this, Dunk puts his foot in his mouth again, making Maekar hate him even more for even suggesting that his missing sons might be missing because they're dead. Maekar not liking Dunk will wind up biting him in the butt pretty soon. Baelor then reminds Dunk that he needs to get a new coat of arms because by law he can't use Sir Arlen's because he's not his natural-born son, which is a thing in Westeros. Goes to see another one of Tanzel's plays. This one is about Florian the Fool, who's another famous play from Westerosi history. He was a knight from the Age of Heroes who fell in love with a woman named Yonquil, who he spotted at a fair, and in the episode, they're using this as a metaphor for Dunk, the fool, falling in love with Tanzel, the knight who was also a fool. But the other cool Easter egg here in connection to Dunk is that Florian's status as a knight was doubted because the whole tradition of knighthood didn't come to Westeros till after the Andal invasion, long after Florian would have been dead. So the idea is that he probably wasn't an actual knight, and during this series, there's a lot of doubt about Dunk actually being a knight. Right after this, Tanzel also quotes the line from the play back to him, "All men are fools and knights when women are concerned." And the reason he pays her coin is payment for her play, like you would pay to see a movie. Dunk then asks her to paint his new crest over the shield and gets Egg and her to actually help him figure it out. The elm tree that they just slept under next to their campsite, the falling star that they saw in episode 1, the colors of sunset because Sir Arlen loved sunsets, and boom, that's it. That is Dunk's crest. She explains her nickname, Tanzel Too Tall, when he says she's not too tall, she's just right for ... That's also a line from the book. It's just a joke about them slowly having chemistry together and her becoming his love interest. There are a couple jokes right after this where Dunk tries to talk to Egg about having no game, like, how did you think that went? How did that go? Totally love the two of them together, like they work really well as an actual pair. Lionel Baratheon gets their help with the rope pull. They also use this to show you how much stronger Dunk is, which is one of his few advantages, that he is just really big and really strong. That night he meets Steely Pate, who is also from the books, who reforges Sir Arlen's smaller armor to fit him after he gets more coin, which requires him, sadly, to sell one of Sir Arlen's beloved horses to get the rest of the money, Sweetfoot. So pour one out for Sweetfoot. He does swear to come back and buy her again if he gets the money someday. Really love the way that Dunk actually treats the horses on the show. It's sort of like Jon Snow in Ghost, but with horses. Then when Dunk talks to Egg about winning at Ashford and maybe the Targaryens will take him into their service, they use Donald's Kingsguard example as a way to throw water on that, like Dunk is really dejected after this. Then they enjoy the actual opening ceremonies with the opening jousts, some of the major contestants right out in their gear, House Baratheon, House Tyrell, this is Valarr Targaryen, Baelor's oldest son, and they use this 5-on-5 to foreshadow the Trial of 7, which is 7-on-7. Cannot say enough about the jousting scene here. Like, this is just a taste. This is much better jousting scenes than they've ever done on House of the Dragon, especially during season 1, and of course, better than the original Game of Thrones series. They said a lot of the jousting matches during this, and George R. R. Martin, when he was writing the book and writing the jousting matches, was inspired by the Ivanhoe movie back in the day. But as the match starts going down, Dunk starts having an anxiety attack, wondering if he's going to be able to actually win. Later that night, we get another real big Blackfyre Rebellion Easter egg from Egg, who's play acting a battle as if it is the Blackfyre Rebellion, and the Blackfyre Pretenders were just something that their side were called during the actual war. You have to remember the Blackfyre Rebellion just went down recently in Westerosi history. It wasn't that long ago, which is why so many people are still talking about it now. Then they have the conversation about the life as a hedge knight eating hard salt beef, sleeping by the side of the road, and Dunk basically stealing himself. Like, even though he admits to the truth of Sir Arlen, he wasn't great, he never won anything, but he did try to raise me right to be an honorable person, and I'm gonna show everybody what I'm made of tomorrow, like what this all means. Basically, him resolving to do a good job and win tomorrow. As he eats a piece of hard salt beef, bookending the episode. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, and if you spotted any Easter eggs or references to the books or the other Game of Thrones series, just write them in the comments below. What I'll do is my episode 3 trailer video will post next, and then my full episode 3 video will post next week after they release it, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. There's a bunch of other stuff coming up too, and it seems like every single week that new Game of Thrones stuff is released, George R. Martin and the other producers talk about all the other series that are going on too. So I will do more House of the Dragon Season 3 videos as we get more footage. We should get a trailer for that pretty soon, and more news about some of the other spin-off and prequel series. Everybody click here for that episode 3 video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it, and click here for all my other Game of Thrones Night of the Seven Kingdoms episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.